Hi there everybody and Happy New Year. This is Matt, the co-founder of Sales Genomics, one of the fastest growing e-commerce growth hacking agencies. And in this video, I'll tell you how we scaled a personalized jewelry brand in 2020 from $1 million to over $3 million. In fact, we made $3.8 million as of the end of December 2020. And in this video, I'll do a complete dive into the high-level strategy, the most important strategic decisions that we made in 2020 to achieve those results. But before I do a dive into that, let me actually introduce Emil, our partner, the owner of this brand, who is going to tell you about his experience through 2020.
Hey guys, my name is Emil, and I'm the owner of SilverCut. Now, SilverCut is a jewelry brand that we launched back in 2019. And by the end of the year, we're on track of making $3 million working with Sales Genomics. So let's quickly jump into our Shopify account. We can go over and compare the results from when we started working with Sales Genomics and the previous results that I had when I ran the store myself, which is still pretty good, but the results with Sales Genomics is astronomical. So let's jump into my account and see how it went. Hey guys, and welcome into our Shopify account. Now, as you can see here, I've set the date to 1st of September since our store is heavily relying on the Q4 sale and we're basically making all of our money during Q4. So we're going to compare this year's results compared to last year's results when I ran the store myself. So as you see, we're going to compare ourselves to the previous year. And by looking at this, we have 250% growth compared to last year. So if we look at the September of 2019, when I ran the store myself, we did $43,000. September of 2020, when we worked at Sales Genomics, we did $150,000. October of 2019, when I worked myself, I did $40,000. October of 2020, I did $320,000. Then November, which is so fun. It's so fun working when you have a business making this much money. So November just ended a few days ago. So this is pretty fresh statistic that I'm showing you. We did $960,000 in sales this year compared to last year when I thought we killed it, which we probably did, but comparing it to this year, we did $285,000 last year compared to $960,000 this year.
A bit of a background first. Emil was a solopreneur, which means that he managed to scale his business to about $1 million by himself and with just a small outsourced customer support team. But at some point he realized that at $1 million per year, his business grew to so much complexity that he was not able to manage this all by himself. He knew that in order to take these things to the next level, he needed to change the way he's doing things. So from a person managing his ads and creatives and everything by himself, he moved to building an international team with us, with Sales Genomics, with international scaling capabilities, outsourced marketing, and that's how he was able to get to this next level. Now, let me walk you through the high-level strategy and the 4 pillars that we used to get this business from $1 million to $3.8 million in 2020. Pillar number 1, refocusing the marketing team from return on the ad spend to net margin. And I can't stress how important it is, because you'll see a lot of businesses that are scaling really fast and it seemingly looks like they're doing a great job, but then they look at their profit and loss statement at the end of the month and all of a sudden they're surprised that they've actually not been very profitable, even though the revenue numbers might have looked amazing, right? So and this is the problem that Emil was struggling for a while with, because whenever he was scaling his ads, his profitability would shrink and he would only realize this at the end of the month. So he didn't have a mechanism to have a kind of day-by-day rough view of what his profitability looks like, and as a result he couldn't communicate that to the marketing team to be able to have a constant flow of communication that is actually driving the ultimate goal of the business, which is profit, not necessarily revenue in this case, unless you're a growth stock like Uber. So the number 1 fix we made, and this is a very simple thing you can do right away if you're on Shopify, we installed the app called Order Metrics. That is a perfect app for tracking your profitability daily. You can get daily snapshots you can send to your media buyers, a daily email with a summary of core metrics, including the percentage net margin, which is the ultimate number that you need to really be concerned with. And on a daily basis, you can basically make decisions, especially as you're scaling fast, whether to push the budget or not. So the way we made it is we were working off a certain fixed net margin. We decided that there's going to be a certain net margin that we were aiming aiming at, and then if a net margin for a particular day was greater than that number, that was an indicator to us that it made sense to scale the budgets as well. So we would look at in the early day and at the end of the day, and we see what the trend is like, and do we have more kind of leeway to spend on the ads. And this is becoming especially important because if you're just working based off the Facebook Ads Manager, you'll find that and I'm sure a lot of you have had this experience, that the numbers between the Facebook Ads Manager in terms of your revenue don't quite match up with what you're seeing on your backend, especially if you're on Shopify. So, and the reason for that, there are multiple reasons for that. Number one is that the tracking is imperfect. Number two is that the user journeys are complex. Sometimes, people browse on one device and then check out on the other. Maybe they're not logged into Facebook, and Facebook cannot really match this data to the same user. There can also be other things like people, especially in Europe, not agreeing to cookies if they're on desktop. And now we've got in 2020 this new iOS 14 update coming, which will basically mean that a lot of users will be required to agree explicitly to have their data tracked in apps like Facebook. So effectively, a lot more tracking is going to be lost. So this is making it even more important to have multiple sources of data to look at. So don't just think about your Facebook Ads Manager as the ultimate source of truth. Always look at Facebook Ads Manager, your Shopify backend, and applications such as order metrics to tell you the real story about how your business is doing on a particular day. And if you have this communication, if you actually refocus your marketing team on the ultimate number, your all incentives are aligned, you can make decisions really fast, and you don't need to worry that your profitability is gonna get squeezed even though you're scaling really fast. Number two strategy that we used is reducing price sensitivity through consistent branding and conversion rate optimization efforts. And what do I mean by that? You've probably heard a term that whoever can spend the most on acquiring the customer wins, right? This is, I believe, it was coined by someone in the past and popularized by Russell Brunson from ClickFunnels. And what this effectively means is that the higher your lifetime value is, the more you can spend on acquiring the customers. And when you look at the whole competitive landscape, there's going to be brands at different levels of lifetime value. For a particular kind of, there's more math involved in it. I'm not going to bore you with this, but in general, on a particular market with a given average CPM, you got to have a lifetime value of a certain level to even be able to profit on this market. And that's, for example, the reason why, e-commerce businesses, it doesn't really make sense to advertise on LinkedIn, because the costs of impressions are too expensive for you to be able to make profit unless your lifetime value is super high, just like some premium corporate SaaS companies have. And so what this also means is that if you've got two competitors, one that has managed to have like lower prices and one higher prices, the one that has higher prices can spend more on acquiring the customers, which means that they can spend more on the bidding in the Facebook ads auctions. So they're gonna outcompete the people that have lower prices and just can't afford to bid as high, so they're gonna turn their ads off faster, and you're the only person that's left to be exposed to this customer, so you're able to scale to much higher levels profitably if you are able to increase your lifetime value and be able to have this profitable ROAS even though your cost of acquisition is higher, which other people might not be able to. And how do you increase your lifetime value? You can of course increase your prices, you can work on some kind of upsells and things like that, but your competitors can do that as well. The thing about pricing is, of course, if your prices rise, there's a certain kind of balance depending on the market and the market's price sensitivity. There's a certain kind of balance between how high you can increase your price before your conversion rate is starting to drop. And of course, your equation between increased average order value and decreased conversions has to make sense, right? If your AOV raises 50% and your conversion rate drops, 60%, you're effectively at 10 percentage points worse off, right? In terms of how much revenue and profit you're making. So this is important because, of course, there's more to this equation in terms of your profitability, your kind of back-end gross margin, how much it costs you to get the products and so on. But ultimately, this equation has to make sense for your particular business. And one way to increase the prices without having this drop in conversions is actually through building a brand. So if you think of, those luxury brands such as Burberry or Tiffany's or whatever, Saint Laurent, those are the guys who are able to, for very, very low cost of their products. They're able to charge insane amounts of money for the products that they're selling comparatively to their competitors without seeing, with still seeing the demand happening to them, right? So that's so building brand is the way to do it. How do you actually build a brand? So let me tell you what Emil does. So he literally thinks about, he's so dedicated to his customers' success and to his customers' happiness. He thinks about his brands every single day, and every day he comes up with ideas to how he can delight his customers more. And if you kind of get into this mindset habit, that's the crucial mindset habit to have for an entrepreneur if you want to scale an e-commerce brand to a very high level. If you're thinking about this every single day, ideas will come to mind. So things like, how can I improve the post-purchase process? So for example, what Emil did is this is a personalized piece of jewelry. So his kind of process between the customers purchase the product and when they get it takes a bit of time, and there's a certain steps involved. And every step, every touch point, like you've got between, the factory and any kind of new step in the process is an opportunity for you to connect with your customers and delight them, give them an update, show them something cool that's happening. So that's why Emil has set up an email sequence where, he's explaining a bit about the process. He's getting people immersed in the brands. There's very high quality photos from the factory and showing the craftsmanship of the pieces of jewelry that he is doing. So he's basically like emphasizing this message of quality and reminding people of the reasons they bought those pieces of jewelry, which in his case is to usually memorialize someone or a pet in their life, to show them they cared about them. And so through those consistent kind of daily efforts, another day he might come up with, there's a piece of, he's reading his customers' reviews and comments all the time and getting in touch with them. He reads every single comment that falls under Facebook ads, and he takes that into serious consideration, and that sparks ideas on how to delight the customers further. So, the way the website looked when he was making 1 million and the way the website looks now is completely different because, over time he's been implementing a lot of those incremental changes that add only a little bit of value maybe to his conversion rate and to this price sensitivity, but over time the effect compounds and he's able to charge way more than his competitors do, and that's how he's able to outcompete everyone, and really this brand is becoming the original personal jewelry brand in the world. So another piece of building an amazing brand and delighting your customers to reduce price sensitivity is getting to know your customers really well and answering all the questions. So Emil really knows, and he's able to connect with the customers because he's in a niche that he cares about. He's selling primarily to pet owners. As a pet owner himself, he's very familiar with the feelings and with the experience that the target audience goes through. Advice to you is, either launch a business in a niche that you're familiar with or spend a lot of time interacting with your customers and really getting to know the experience that they have. Right, now let's dive into SilverCut's brand strategy and the funnel strategy and all the different elements that came together and eventually made the price be relevant in the eyes of the customers so that we could charge way more than the competition and scale super fast. So number one factor is the design and brand consistency. And this is something that people don't pay enough attention to, especially as your brand is scaling. You're introducing a lot of different changes to your pages, especially look at the product page design. You're introducing a lot of changes, and all of a sudden your website starts to look like a Frankenstein. You see, okay, let's add the 30-day guarantee here. Let's add the trust badges here. As you can see in SilverCut, everything is in line with the branding. The colors are consistent across the whole website, and this on its own is creating this kind of premium perspective on the brand. Factor number one is showing the customers the behind the scenes of your brand and demonstrating the quality through original video content, right? So as you can see, the video that they have on the website, makes a huge difference. All the different elements on the product page showcasing how, there's a studio where the products are being crafted, and those little GIFs showing how the product is being polished. And all those little tiny details really create a perspective in the customers that this brand has a premium feel. I really want this, and I want to be a part of this kind of premium experience that I have. Right? There's also a lot of good copy on the landing page, right? So as you can see, we are tapping right into the desires of the audience, right? We're tapping right into what it really means for them to buy this product. It's not about just having it. It's not just about having a cool gift, but it's about expressing some deeper emotion and tapping into this deeper desire. So if you really nail the copy, it's gonna resonate with your audience way better and increase your conversion rate as a result. Also, another thing is is showcasing the customers the exact process of the purchase. Because quite often the brands, especially brands with some personalization steps, they fall into the trap of basically having a very confusing user experience, and that's going to detract from the conversion, that's going to decrease your conversion rates, and as a result in, you know, like worse ROAS on your Facebook ads, right? So you have to be super clear and simple in how you structure your sales process on your website. So in this case, you know, there's a very detailed how-to guidance. The process is very straightforward. There's no overcomplicated steps, loads of guidelines, loads of how-to videos, and things like that. And finally, another point is using a lot of the space on your product page for video and image content, especially showcasing videos on your product pages. It really massively helps demonstrate what the product is about, right? Especially videos like this, when it's a demonstration of the product. We've got some close-ups, we've got some person using the product. Demonstrating the product in use is the key here. You can also use the product photos for showcasing different product options. What are the different kind of versions of the product that you can purchase, and what are their benefits? You can showcase reviews and literally bombard your customers with social proof, right? Which leads me to another point, which is the overwhelming amount of social proof. As you can see, SilverCut has got more than 1,000 photo reviews, which is pretty amazing. And the reason, or the way to get this social proof, is basically by creating this amazing customer experience at every step of the customer journey, right? So if you nail all the steps of the process from the purchase until the customers receive the product, and you also incentivize it through some kind of rebate scheme, if you want to go really aggressive, offer the customers a discount or like a rebate of part of their purchase in exchange for a video testimonial. You already have a lot of social proof. You can incentivize by some kind of discount codes or referral codes, or having some kind of random gift to send to the person in exchange for this kind of testimonial. Now, a few tips on increasing the average order value. So a few cool tricks that this brand is using is enabling different variants and personalization options. So for example, using different metals to create the pendant, and also to enable engraving personalization options, which is great because it not only adds a few bucks to your cart, but it's also making it impossible for people to request a refund, because effectively, people do understand that personalized items are harder to exchange. Having said that, this brand, even on engraved items, they're offering some kind of refund policy if the product is broken or substandard, and that's another way to boost your customer satisfaction and prevent refunds and keep your Facebook feedback score high. Another thing when it comes to wowing the customer experience is from the very point of purchase. There's a lot of touch points. There's a lot of walking the customers through the process. A lot of brands, you purchase from them and then you don't hear anything until you finally get the product. And this is a personalized product, so the delivery time is quite high before the customers gets it. So it makes it even more important to stay in tune with the customers and keep them updated about the status of their delivery. This is super important as well. And now a quick note for people who are using any shipping methods based on China, or if you're drop shipping. Quite often, if you try to use tracking numbers, your customers would see the parcel being transferred in and out of China or through different fulfillment centers in China. So this is actually gonna create a pretty cringy customer experience, because especially if you're trying to position your brand as a premium, how does it look to a customer that the parcel is getting transferred in China instead of some local country. So what you can do instead is you can use this app called Parcel Panel to basically personalize your shipping, your tracking information, that your tracking updates that your customers are getting. So let's say based on certain keywords, let's say the order is coming into Guangzhou or something like this, you can change by these keywords that it's coming from one country to another, or you can even make it funny and call it the parcel was transferred from the happiness factory in this city to the next happiness fulfillment center, where your parcel is getting checked for the optimal level of happiness happiness, right? So this is just one of the ideas to create those really funny customer experience. And now I can tell you a story about my personal experience with a car rental company in Georgia in Europe. And the funniest part about the company, it was a small company. I was pretty skeptical about buying from them, but then they wowed me from the very first moment I started checking out, because one of the personalization options was that I was able to tick an option if I want the manager to tell me a joke. I was also and there was also another option about the good weather, which was super funny. And also after the checkout process, instead of the usual like thank you for your order, we'll be back with you, there was a video of people dancing and a description of how the managers are so happy that I purchased from them, that they are dancing the national Georgian dance, and when they stop dancing they're gonna send me more information. And this is the kind of stories with brands that your customers are going to share with you. So another cool tip for creating a wow customer experience is to personalize your thank you page after you purchase. Make it funny, make it memorable, make it so weird that people are going to want to share it with their friends. The same goes to your transaction emails. Personalizing your transaction emails is not only an opportunity to make another upsell, but it's also an opportunity to create this really, really funny, wowing customer experience. The third pillar of our strategy to scale this brand from 1 million to 3.8 million was increased creative testing volume. And we literally went insane here. So this is a brand that, we've been testing probably over 200 or 300 creatives in the last year alone, and with multiple different versions of those. And the way we're able to sustain this kind of creative volume is because, one, we've gathered the creatives from multiple sources, right? One is user-generated content. We've been gathering a lot of testimonials from clients, a lot of testimonials from actors that we hire around the world, some creatives from production companies from different countries, some internal creatives, some creatives Emil was just taking himself with his dog at in-house. Because we were able to combine those multiple sources, like everyone brings different ideas to the table. So a lot of the time brands fall into this trap of kind of converging creative ideas. So all your new creatives become pretty much the same, and you stop exploring very different angles. So by bringing different people to the table, different designers from our team, different designers from the outside, we were able to actually come up with new ideas and test what's working. And we primarily rely on video creatives here. We've got a lot of reviews, and there's a lot of social proof involved. The creatives are very emotional, voiceovers, no voiceovers, like very, very emotional creatives. Yeah, we've been testing different angles, different kind of hooks for the beginnings of the ads to see what's really driving the conversions. But most importantly, we were focused on consistency. We worked out a workflow where all the new creatives were very simply added to, we're getting through the approval process. There was either scripting or not, or we were just throwing ideas in there as they came up to mind. We were editing all the different versions, and all the creatives got set up in active Facebook campaign that we call the Creative Sandbox. And then we were just the media buyers were able to schedule the tests as they see fit, depending on the particular state of the campaigns. And we were basically able to amplify the creative volume this way to sustain this kind of scale throughout the year. And finally, the fourth pillar of our strategy, which was very aggressive international expansion of the brand. SilverCut was getting amazing results in the US market, and it was profitable, but ultimately the US market is very competitive, and we knew that, and the CPMs are pretty high, as you might imagine, and everyone is hitting the US. It sounds like a no-brainer for everybody. Well, in reality, there's a massive market outside of the US, also English speaking, that you can tap into with lower CPMs, lower competition, and very eager to buy, high purchasing power. We're not talking about countries with low wages, but we're talking about high wage countries in Europe, and not only in Europe, that you can tap into to scale your brand beyond US and actually make even more profit. There's a lot of challenges associated with international scaling. Let me tell you about how we tackled it. In fact, we managed to scale so well that probably around 70% of our volume is coming from outside the US now. The business is very diversified, independent on kind of the local situation in a particular country or high CPMs in the US. Here's how we handled our international expansion. First of all, before you start expanding internationally, you need to test your countries, You need to get your logistics set up, and then you need to kind of double down on the particular country. So when it comes to testing countries, here's what we did. You can't test a country unless you actually create an environment for people to buy. If you're trying to scale to a new country, but you set your shipping price, even maybe you try to scale it before you set up the logistics, so your international shipping fee is actually crazy, like $50, let's say, right? Nobody is going to buy your product if the shipping fees internationally are just super prohibitive, right? So to properly test the countries, and because a lot of people, they'll find that, they're just trying to launch a campaign to a new country, it doesn't work, they give up. But actually the reason people don't buy is because your shipping is prohibitive. So to properly test the country, you need to create an environment for people to buy. So you need to temporarily lower your shipping fee for a particular country, or even, the range of countries, and be willing to take some losses for the first few purchases, just so that you can get the data to prove to yourself that the effort to invest into better logistics and cheaper shipping in those countries makes sense. So the number one is to create an environment for people to buy. So lower your shipping fees temporarily, be willing to sustain temporary losses. You can only generate a few purchases, only as much data as you need to really be confident that it makes sense to invest in this country. Then, in order to test the countries, our framework is really simple. We take our best creatives, we target English speakers first, and keep in mind, not all countries are going to be perfect for expanding internationally with English speaking ads. Such countries such as France or Brazil are probably not going to work that well. But other countries in Europe, especially affluent ones like the Nordic countries, German countries, Switzerland, UK, of course, they're going to be perfectly fine if you just target them with English speaking ads at first. So we set up one campaign that's kind of bundling all those countries together into a single ad set. We take our best creatives, 4 or 5 of them, and we just start running the ads like that. So there's one campaign, one ad set, a few different ads that we found to be best performing. We let it run for a while. We want to keep it broad into one ad set because we want to give Facebook flexibility of picking the countries that work. And then later on, we give the campaign a few days, and after that, we analyze using the breakdown report by country, which countries perform the best in terms of which countries absorb the volume of spend, and then what was the return on the ad spend on those particular countries. Once we find countries that worked, we either isolate them together. We don't get me wrong. We run both worldwide campaigns with the best performing countries, and we run country-specific campaigns for countries that have enough volume to basically justify some personalization. So the main decision of whether to run joint campaigns or not is whether you want to personalize creatives or landing pages and so on, right? Also, another thing to get ready before you even start testing countries is to get your website ready for those new countries. So the two things you need to take care of is language and currency. And the currency being the most important, because a lot of the people are sometimes going to have certain issues if they don't see the prices in their currencies. So unless you're on Shopify Plus, it's going to be very difficult for you to accept payments in different currencies. But to be honest, like for most people, it's going to be perfectly enough if they just see the comparison. So what the price is like in their home currency on the product pages, and then on the checkout. This might impact your conversions a little bit, but at this stage when you're testing countries, you shouldn't really be worried too much about it. There are plenty of apps on Shopify to use for currency switching on the product pages. Try them and get that ready before you start testing countries. When it comes to language on your website, English-speaking website is going to be perfectly fine for most tests. If you find countries that work, you might invest into translations and get different domains and basically set up a domain change based on the IP address and the country of the IP of the person visiting your website. So once you find the countries that work best for you, you can double down either by personalizing your creatives. So for example, translating them into different languages. You can get translation services really cheap on Fiverr. You can also personalize your website for the local language as well. If you want to really double down, you can create a separate Shopify account for a particular country with different currency that you're accepting, different URL, different everything, and driving the ads for a particular country to this new Shopify store. I just explained our Facebook ad strategy. Let me show you what it looks like from the Facebook Ads Manager. So as you can see, in December, we had loads of scaling campaigns with this 20 ad set methodology, CBO, optimized for conversions, of course. We're splitting our funnel into funnel stages. We've got top of funnel campaigns. We've got middle funnel campaigns. We've also had specific campaigns to the offers where we're using ad set budget optimized campaigns, and we're breaking down the audiences. This is the reason we're using ABO here is because we want more control. And as you can see, that's a range of audiences that we've been using. We've got some CRM exports, broad audiences worldwide. We've got all website traffic from 180 days before, all purchases, lookalikes, social. So we're bundling, top of the funnel and middle funnel here with personalized creatives for the offer. We're just adding new creatives or turning off what didn't particularly work, and we're controlling the budgets on the ad set level. Again, killing really fast if something is not currently converting. This is our interest sandbox where we test our interests. There's also the creative campaign that I mentioned. We've got bottom of the funnel campaign. And then as you can see from top of the funnel, we either have country specific campaigns or we've got broad and worldwide campaigns, depending on whether the particular country makes sense to isolate from the others. Now let's dive into our Google Ads strategy. So as you can see, in December, we spent around $100,000 and our conversion value over cost, which is effectively ROAS, was about 4.5, which of course includes the brand campaigns. So, don't get too concerned with it. But let me show you what our structure looks like currently. We are running a mix of search, display, shopping, and YouTube campaigns. When it comes to search, our campaigns are divided between the brand campaigns, of course, where the high ROAS is expected because we consider it as a bottom of the funnel traffic, and we don't really kind of scale it too much. Now we have our cold traffic search campaigns divided between alpha and beta terms, and if you're not familiar with this, basically alpha campaigns are our kind of most profitable keywords divided into single keyword ad groups. And the reason and those are in the kind of exact match type. So purpose of that is to basically scale the keywords and personalize scale the keywords that really works and personalize the content, the ads and the landing pages for those particular terms, so that we can decrease our CPCs through increased relevance and also increase our ROAS, because the conversions on those terms are expected to be high. At the same time, we've got the beta terms, which is effectively our testing campaigns, where we have everything else with a broad modifier type, and we don't do so much personalization here. We don't use single keyword ad groups here, and we basically review the keywords here periodically to see what needs to be transferred into alpha campaigns or what needs to be dropped altogether or excluded as negative keywords. So you can see we've got also a display retargeting that's also doing pretty well for all our website visitors. We've got a shopping campaign. We've also got YouTube retargeting. So far, we haven't cracked for this brand YouTube cold traffic. The shopping campaigns, as you can see, are broken down by countries. The YouTube retargeting, we've got it broken down by funnel stages. We personalize the content a little bit, but it's mostly, the bottom of the funnel content that you would find on Facebook, right? So just we needed to, of course, changing dimensions and things like that. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching a case study of how we scale this personalized jewelry brand from $1 million to $3.8 million in 2020. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope the content was informative. Please tell me in the comments your feedback and what other questions you might have, or how I could improve this video in the future. And also consider subscribing to our channel to see more awesome content about e-commerce growth, and also join our Facebook group that's called E-commerce Scaling Strategies by Sales Genomics. It's awesome. We've got over 1,000 e-commerce entrepreneurs participating in the discussion, asking questions, sharing their insights from their e-commerce journey on how they scale their businesses from 0 to 7 and 8 figures. I hope you enjoyed it. Like this video as well. Share it with your friends if you liked it, and I'll see you in the next video. Just at the end, I'm gonna let Emil finish off by essentially summarizing his 2020 for you.
So I'm super happy working with Sales Genomics. And if you just want a team that holds you accountable, that keeps the company growing and keeps it moving forward and making more money every single year, then try out working with Sales Genomics. Jump on a free meeting with them, talk with Matt or talk with Mike, and they will help you out and see if they're a fit for you. So this is my review for Sales Genomics. I'm super happy. I hope that you join them, or if you don't, I hope you to have a successful business venture anyhow. So thank you for watching this video. I hope you have a great day.